It's time to take a look at connecting two VoIP systems together. This is a really common scenario you might find is if you had two branch offices here. So on the top, this is using our 10 VLAN for voice, 11 VLAN for data, with a calling prefix of 1000. Think of this as maybe a Madison office. If we wanted to connect into a Sioux Falls office and we had clients or people within our organization calling each other often, VoIP is a really good solution. So we're going to say in Sioux Falls, we're using the 20 for voice and 21 for data with a calling prefix of 2000. Now the reason we might want to use VoIP between two branches is we don't need to purchase additional phone lines. So if we had, let's say, 50 or maybe even 100 people working together in a call center, and they were constantly calling each other back and forth doing group work that way, it wouldn't be feasible or really financially worthwhile to have plain telephone systems for each of them, when we could just as easily set up a VoIP system like this. So this has all been pre-configured. This is using the .10 and .11 subnets. This is the .20 and .21 subnets. All of the phones are able to call within each other. The laptops are able to talk to each other within each network. What we got to do is bridge these two networks together here. In order to do that, I'm going to connect my routers first over the Fast Ethernet 01 port. And we will set this up here. Let's start on the top. What I want to do is from my config T, go straight into that interface, and we'll set up a network for it. Let's do IP address, and let's do, I don't know, we can do a 10.10.10.1 and make this a slant 30. We'll say no shutdown there. Let's go do the same thing here on router 1. So we'll do config T, interface fast Ethernet 01. We'll say IP address 10.10.10.2, and keeping that slant 30, it'll turn that interface on. Let's make sure real quick that we can ping between these two devices. So let's do a ping. And this might take just a second for it to go, and there we have it. So the two routers are connected to each other. Now one challenge we have is these routers don't know about each other's internal networks, so we need to set up some routes. To keep it simple for this one, I'm going to set up static routes since there's only two. You could just as easily use a dynamic routing protocol. So starting with router 0, let's plug in the networks that we want to get to. So if we get out of that interface, we'll do an IP route. We need our destination, which I happen to know is 20.0, and that is their 20.0 should be the voice. We need the prefix mask, so it's just a slant 24. And then how do they get there? They're going to get there through 10.10.10.2. I'm going to add in a second route for whatever reason. If we wanted their PCs to talk to each other as well, we could add in a route for the 21 networks. Going over to router 1 again. We're going to take a look here and do the same thing just in reverse. So config T, IP route of 192.168.10.0, that's a slant 24. And how do we get there? They're going to get there through 10.10.10.1. Same thing here with the 11 network. Okay, so we should have routes between these couple of things. To test this, I'm just going to quick do a couple more pings from this router. So if I try to ping something on, let's just do 10.1, just see how that goes first. Okay, so that's working. I believe there's a device sitting over there with 10.2, we can see. So we can at least talk to the voice network. How about the data network? 11.2 is working as well. So all we've done is connected these two routers and set up static routing in between them. Now the next part's a little more tricky. When we make a phone call on either of these networks, we need something to tell the routers, is that phone call to be made locally, or do you need to send it to one of your peers? And that's called a dialing peer. What we're going to do on here is I know all of the phones up here use a 1 prefix, and it's a 4-digit long phone number. All of them down here use a 2 prefix, and it's a 4-digit number again. So it's pretty easy for us to create what's called a dialing peer between these two. I'm going to start out with router 0 and create this dialing peer here. So from config T, we're going to do a dial-peer. It's a voice dialing peer, and you can just give it a number. It's kind of an identifier I can show you. It's a voice dial peer tag. And we're going to say this is using VoIP. Now the next part is the destination prefix. So that's what we just talked about with the 1000 numbers and the 2000 numbers. The destination pattern uses wildcards, and it can also use different numbers specifically. So for example, I could say specifically if you want to get something that starts with 2, you're going to send it out to this peer. I could say if it's 2000 specifically, send it to that peer. If I do 2 dot dot dot, the dots represent wildcards. So it has to be a 4-digit number starting with 2. We're going to send it to the peer. I'd encourage you to go look at destination patterns. They're pretty simple. Just remember the dots are wildcards, and there's some different rules about how it tries to match. But I'm going to say I want to get to anything that's starting with 2 and is 4 digits long. I need to make what's called a session target. So who do I send this over to? It's an IPv4 address. So we'll just do IPv4, and then let's do 10.10.10.2. Okay? So who are we sending it over to? Let's go ahead and do the same thing here on router 1 and get that going back the other direction. So again, starting from the top, we'll do a dial peer from config T. We're going to call this a voice dialing peer. We can give it the same number. It shouldn't matter. This is using VoIP. The destination pattern in this case, we're going back the other direction. We'll start with a 1, and it's 4 digits long. And then our session target, I'm going to call this IPv4, and we'll call it 10.10.10.1. Perfect. So if all has gone well so far, we should be able to initiate a phone call between one of these phones. Let's start here. So we'll hang up our old call, and let's try to call this phone over here. So let's pick that up, hang it up. There we go. So we have phone 1000, we have phone 2001. So let's just dial and see if we can get it across. So dialing 2001, pick it up, and very cool. The phone is ringing. We've now got a VoIP setup between our two networks.